Welcome to the fourth installment for the year of the Chicago Black Social Culture Map. And this, if the panelists, y'all come up here. So this is our fourth installment for the year. We began this project as a performance project and collected a whole bunch of data about kind of house music and dance music spots, and then felt like we needed to take that information and feed it back to the community and continue to see if we could grow it. So these conversations that we're having all tell different stories and different narrative lines about house and dance music and social culture. Some of it predominantly focused on Black social culture life, but we understand that there are many narratives and strands, and we want to include all of those stories. So today is a really special edition where we're focusing on Latinx stories. Larissa Johnson, one of our collaborative members, is going to introduce the moderator for the panel, Yvette. And then Yvette will introduce the panelists, and we'll get going with this first panel.
From the beginning, Yvette fell in love with music. Her family was her early influence. She is both Puerto Rican and Mexican, but grew up more on the Puerto Rican side. There was a party and celebration for everything. So Yvette grew up listening to lots of salsa y merengue and Motown. She moved around a lot, but mostly in Humboldt Park, and this is where she first met house music. Looking back, she didn't know that she'd be this involved in the house community, but she just knew that the music sounded great and loved the way it felt. Her older cousin and the people on the block introduced her to the basement party. Soon after that, all of the old school parties. Over the years, Yvette has hosted and worked with many local, national, and international DJs and producers stemming from The Chosen Few, Bang, and others. She currently is the producer and host of Suave Sundays at the Wise Owl and an internet radio show where she showcases local artists and entrepreneurs. She is among a few of Chicago's bar stars and is a significant force in Chicago nightlife and culture. Please welcome Yvette McNeal.
Hello, everybody, and thank you guys for having me as a moderator, having me be a part of this. It was unexpected and I think important. So thank you guys for having me. You know, you guys had to like hump me down and keep me there. I love music, all music, and I found myself involved in the house music community, and I feel like I'm a younger part. You know, I mean, I'm not young, but you know, the people that introduced me were a little older than me, and listening to looking at some of your bios, especially yours, Kat. I was really, I was connected to it. So anyway, this is about you guys too, so let's talk about you. Please introduce yourselves. Oh, starting with you.
Starting with me?
Yeah, sure. Okay, go ahead.
I'll start with the oldest.
The oldest, okay. My name's DJ Lugo Rosado. I'm Puerto Rican descent and a big supporter of the house music community.
And
I'm Kat Valenzuela, Mexican descent, and a dancer throughout from south side to north side.
yeah.
I'm Martino, Spinnin Ramos. Been DJing since 1982. Thank you for having me here.
I'm Jose Torres, known as DJ Phatman. Back in the 80s was Jose Phatman T. Now it's DJ Phatman, as we know today. Spelled different, F-A-T back in the days, but it was offensive, so now it's P-H-A-T. We all know what that means.
Thank you. So some of you, I remember hearing your name, like Martino. I remember hearing your name and going to the parties, all of you. So it's an honor to be here with you. And so let me know, how did you start, Phatman? Where did your love for music begin?
The love for music began, I could tell you, like when I was born, because my parents always listened to music. And when I really got influence, I saw in my grammar school parties, Nelson Littlehouse Torres, which actually is here today. He's the one who actually mentored me and trained me back in '83. And still to today, I'm still doing the music.
And for you, Kat?
Me? Oh, I guess out of the womb, girl. I was, my first experience, really dancing was like, I was 3 at a black party. I was dancing on the table. So there you go, Dave. I started there at 3. But my dad was a drummer and a great dancer from what I know. And so I think I took that part of him, and my brother got the musical side. But yeah, I've been dancing since 3 on tables. So there you go.
And we all know that the dancer is a very important part of the party.
Absolutely.
You know, gets the energy flowing, and
Yeah, we do.
and I'm pretty sure that the creators of the music who are creating the party enjoy to seeing that energy flow. So thank you. And Lugo?
Oh, okay. My influence was basically my mom. As a single parent mother, she would constantly play her music, her heritage music from Puerto Rico. And so listening to the music, and she used to go buy her albums. So, I mean, she would collect all these old salsa records and some of the old traditional Christmas music from the trios and all that stuff. And the stuff I hated to hear because I was, I was born here in America. So, but with that, I ended up, I had the record player. We had the old console, that everyone had back in the days. And that's how I really got into the record playing and into music, because of that heritage of hearing the music. She would play the music when she cleaned the house,
Oh, yeah.
just because music, it just fills the soul, and then eventually I started to get into it as a younger age in my grade school years, and then I started following these production teams that used to do these hall parties back in the 70s, and they were a production team named Disco Inferno, and it was 2 partners, and they used to do house parties, and then they
Literally, right?
Like, literally house parties,
yeah.
and they used to charge at the door, and and then it grew to a point where down the street on North Avenue in Western, they drove these events, and they were successful. They have like 500 people, have dance contests, and I always wanted to be like that. I always wanted to DJ. It was like inspiring. Then I'm doing it right now, 42 years later.
All of you.
As a matter of fact, I started DJing right there on Northwest Hall in 1981.
I remember going there when I was younger. Well, let's go back to, where did we grow up?
Humboldt Park, Logan Square. I grew up in Logan Square.
I was born in New York, the Bronx, but I was raised here at 1 year old. I came here
Yeah. What part of the city did you grow up in?
from Castle Hill,
Okay.
the Bronx.
Okay. And in Chicago?
No, in Chicago, I lived here at Humboldt Park all my
Humboldt
life.
Park, yeah.
I'm from the south side of Chicago, Beverly, and then I moved further south. And my mom got married to the south suburbs, and I had to prove I was a girl from the city. So when I got to the suburbs and they saw me dance, and that was just like, oh, we need to know her. So
That always helps.
Yeah.
Dancing, I was dancing even at an early age too.
So I was basically born and raised here in Humboldt Park, and now I live in Logan Square. So I've
Okay.
always been in the area.
I moved around a lot, but different parts of the city, but most of my big chunk of my time was in Humboldt Park. So I remember that
I
hall.
live here in Logan because I wanted to throw that out since everybody's here. I live in Logan Square too. But I moved around here.
Yeah, that's right.
When I moved up here, that was it. We lived in Boys Town for a minute, and then I came to Wicker Park, and that was because of my love for Red Dog back in the day. We lived
Red Dog.
above Mad Bar,
Oh,
and
that's
I was
right.
like, I can roll out of bed and literally cross the street and go to my favorite club. So, so then we just kind of stayed in this area, and then we ended up just setting roots in Logan as well.
On that note, that flows into the next question here, and that is speaking about the clubs that you played at and where you're at now, and your memories of some of those clubs. Phatman?
First club, like most of the guys said, was Northwest Hall, which was in the 80s, early 80s. And if you look at history from Northwest Hall, we can even talk of, Daytona Club, Centrum Hall. I would tell you, Riviera nightclub, everybody knew about Rainbow Roller Rink. At least I know Lugo and the guys
You guys
knew
were
from
spinning
Rainbow.
there, right?
Yeah, Rainbow.
I remember going.
So, and roller skating. If there wasn't a party, people went there just to roller skate, which was all Tony Batoy.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of influence and a lot of changes. And of course, we had for me that I would say we had the biggest teen scene on the Northwest side.
Yeah, that's missing now,
had-
isn't it?
And now they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So the kids are out in the street instead of being somewhere where you actually can physically have fun and not worry about the violence.
Yeah.
So every time you went to a house scene, even back then, you caught the dancers from the Culitos to AKA, right? Imported
All-Star.
Taste, All Star, and so on. And that was just amazing to see, everyone not be in the street, and it didn't matter. You went in there and
Yeah.
just enjoyed music.
And Martin?
Back in the day, for me, when I started in '82, it was right off of Roberto Clemente. I was in my senior year, and some guy introduced me to Jenals.
Yeah.
He said, "Let's go to Jenals." I said, "What's Jenals?" Oh, it's a big teen juice bar on Fullerton
Yeah.
and Pulaski. And that was like the second one. There was the first one in Irving Park with Mario Reyes and Lugo and everybody else. But then came the bigger one, the Embassy Ballroom, and that fit like 2,000 people. And I was 18 years old, DJ for 2,000 people.
And that was on Fullerton.
Yeah, on Fullerton and Pulaski.
Pulaski, which is a
Yeah.
CBS now.
And
Yeah.
my thing that I used to buy records from the thrift store, the 12-inch vinyls.
Yeah.
And I used to go to my house, hear the breaks only, and then I used to play the breaks at the club. And these people were, the DJs and the people were going crazy, the dance groups, because they didn't know what song I was playing, and it was all jungle beats. And everybody, I used to color my records so they won't know what I was playing.
Oh.
Everybody is an artist back then.
That's
on
why.
your records.
That's why I see a lot of old records with black permanent marker
Yeah,
cross.
and
I'm
I
like,
used to make the cassette tapes also for some of the dance groups, especially for the culitos, with the cassette.
yeah.
For the dance routines.
I remember getting a cassette from a DJ that liked me. It's like, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And he was from the West Side, and so the music was different than what I was used to listening to. And I was like, oh, I like this. Play it over and over again. What's this? And that was a whole different, it's house music, but a different genre of house music.
It was fast, it was high energy, classic, Italo,
Yeah,
and then came house.
yeah. And your most memorable nightclub, Lugo?
Me?
Si.
Okay. Most memorable nightclub or event?
Huh?
Event or nightclub or?
Nightclub that you worked at.
I gotta say, the most memorable club that I was at was called El Mirador. It's now used to be a dance hall, and right now it's a Pentecostal church. They changed it. But it was on North Avenue off of Pulaski. And at that time, it was a hall. So it was similar to Jenals. So we were kind of like the rival for Jenals.
Yeah.
Al had his place, and so we, some of the dancers, like the Colitos, would rent out their space and do events. And Radar and Jesse Velez and some other promoters would do their events there and try to make money. And, we were all like early entrepreneurs, you know what I mean? We were young, and we had dance crews, we had DJs, we all wanted to express our talents. So with that, it was like, I got together with, I was probably like 16, 17, and I was a young DJ. At that time, they gave me an opportunity to DJ at this teen club, and I was DJing with Kenny, Jason, and Julio Morales, and a couple other DJs, Mike Swaz, and I think Ralphie. We would have guest DJs there, but we would have these dance contests, and then all these great dancers. I mean, it was gay, straight, black, white. It was beautiful.
Everyone.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone was there, and everyone, it was a way to express our talent and to be out of the gangs, and it was positive, and that's what we are missing today, for these youth, because, not only that, the music itself is being lost. I don't see too many young kids like how we used to do it before, because it was basically,
I think that pushes to not having any teen parties.
Yeah, well,
anymore.
that's
so you
part
can't
of it.
educate the young if there's nothing for them to go to right now.
That's part of it. But with that, a lot of the teens got an opportunity to design their own outfits, for the dance competitions, and everyone got together and expressed their individuality.
I think that's a beautiful thing about like summer dance, when you have so many different people come from all over the city and the kids are able to come. And
Right.
I think that's one reason I started the Sunday party, was to be able to bring the different communities that I've been a part of, because I've worked in so many different parts of the city with so many different people, and you can bring your kids, and you can bring your kids, and to see the little kids dancing and enjoying themselves, and I love it, and that's what I do. What I do. I wasn't a part of a dance crew, but I used to love watching them dance. And I did win a dancing contest. I forgot the song. Oh, Jack, I don't remember what it was. I don't know. I was like, my one move, That was,
There's a lot of
the guy,
DJs in here
the guy
just
was
mumble.
in high school. I was in grammar school. He was teaching me the steps. I was like, all right, let's do this. I won a little hand radio, the little. Anyway, what's your most memorable party?
Me?
Yes.
Oh man, there's
Cats.
so many. Jesus Christ. To pin down, man, like Red Dog Shelter were like the two places to go to back in the 90s when, you guys are older than me. Not to, but, most of you guys are starting families, and in the 90s, we kept the stuff going. So when I always hear you guys in the 80s, but the 90s is, we kept it going. I was from the South Side, so we heard the same music all the time. I mean, you still hear the same music all the time. No disrespect to the South Side, but when I got up here, that was it. And the music was different. It was edgier. Underground house music was on the scene at that time. So when I got to, I was going to Kaboom, I was going to Excalibur's, but Shelter on Saturdays, it was a little techier during that time. But when I got to Red Dog, that kind of set everything. Friday nights was it was the hitting night. Yeah. Then it moved to Saturday night. Then the girlfriend took me on a Monday night. Oh, that was it. That was it. I found my peoples. So I met my husband there.
Who's also
a DJ, and back in those days, I didn't want to be known as his wife or girlfriend. Well, not wife at the time, his girlfriend. So we would ignore each other. People didn't even know we were together until they found
really
out. Until they found out, you're with him? I'm like, yeah, only if you were in the know, you knew we were together. But, I would say Red Dog. It was just a place that it was hitting all the time. You know, before I even met my husband. You know, I didn't know the DJs back then. He made it a point for me to know this is these are the people that are playing for you. Yes, you're bringing the energy. And I was always the girl that got people out on the dance floor. I was like, come on, dance, you know, because if I was feeling it, I wanted the whole room to feel it.
Yeah.
And then when I started learning the DJ's names, people knew, oh, there's Kat, she's screaming. I am recorded on somebody's tape screaming higher than the actual music because it was such a great time. And they're like, there's Kat. And then like when people would see me, and then I had a group of girls too, and Yvette, we were younger, we had like we had cliques back then. Yeah, Yvette had her clique, we had our clique, but we were friendly to each other. There was no animosity, but we just knew. But like when we were there, like when I see Yvette, her friends, and me and my friends, we had that whole, like the DJ set was right there. We were right there. We were praising the DJs. And at the end of the night, we would clap for them. We don't get that. I mean, I don't see that anymore. Right. Like you know, there's no clapping for the DJ unless, you know, you're sweating. And we're older age now. It takes us more time to recuperate. But you know, those DJs that are out there.
I think it's safe to say that you loved almost all the parties you went to dance
yes,
to.
I did. I did. And you know, I see Justin De La Pena, who was downstairs at Mad Bar. I would be upstairs in my apartment because we lived above Mad Bar because like I said, I moved across the street to Red Dog, but Mad Bar was there. I know when Jesse was on because I'd be in my apartment. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, but it was cool because, you know, I even went out dancing to Red Dog while I was, you know, big as a house, but I was dancing out there. And, you know, DJs downstairs at Mad Bar, I was like, oh, okay, let me go downstairs. You know, Pevin's on, or, you know, Derek Carter's on, you know.
And back then, everybody was just involved.
Yeah.
It just seemed like everyone was more involved. You have musicians dancing and singing and playing with the DJs, and you know, I like that collaboration that we used to have.
Yeah, totally.
And for what do you see as what is a big major difference? Do you guys, the DJs, see that that's missing now, where the music you played before, and obviously music evolves, people evolve, times change, but what do you see as a challenge right now between the music back then and now?
Well,
Martino?
like she said about the applause and the screaming, well, when like the question that you said about what nightclub was my best, well, mine was Jenals.
Okay.
So my like when the people scream when I slap the record, that made my, you know, soul.
Oh yeah.
You know, that made, and everybody started clapping every time I play a different song or a new song that nobody never heard. Everybody started screaming. That's what I liked about DJing back then. And also then when I made the transition from high energy, which was faster, like 122 to 117, which is house, I went to the Rainbo. Well, that's my second inspiration. Then I started DJing for 4,000 people. And when I slapped a house song, they would scream, and that would get my soul again happy.
And
that's what we need.
I understand that you're gonna be coming out with your first album, right?
Well, in
House
2020, I'm gonna try to come out with 20.
You're going to come
house,
out with
yeah.
that.
Well, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
Because it's been 39. It's gonna be 39 years, almost 4 decades.
So what do you
I
find?
have to do it.
What do you find as he's like, before this is done, I'm doing
No,
it.
the thing is, back then I was gonna make my tracks, but I didn't have the money.
Okay.
And also, I'm glad I'm gonna make it now because social media. Now, if I make a house track, I might get 1 million hits on YouTube and I get paid by YouTube. That's it. But anyways, I would like to do it for the love of the music. In 2020, I'm planning on coming out with 20 house songs with videos.
Okay.
So that's my goal.
Nice. And Lugo, what do you see as maybe challenging or between, you know, the time where you were spinning back then and now? Because you're still DJing.
Yeah.
And
so I think with the music and streaming, like Martino had mentioned, it's a little bit more challenging. Back then, you could make money selling vinyl, and it was more tangible. You know, you can hold it. You know, the excitement of going to the store and the person selling you it, and you know, it was like a 1 or 2 copies. You would be the only DJ with it. However, with that change of buying it online, it's convenient. However, now you're shopping for thousands and thousands of songs. It's not the same. It's not the same energy. It's convenient, and at the same time, it's there's really no money in it now. You can't the markup on it. You're getting it for pennies, thanks to Apple, who basically made all of our songs 99 cents.
And as far as where the music is now, and because you know we always have to reinvent ourselves or add more, you know, something to what we do to keep up. And so how do you find, what things do you see that you're having to do or not liking, you know, to keep it going, your contribution to house music?
Oh, you're asking me? Okay.
Sure, why not?
You know, I think we just have to reinvent ourselves and be creative, not follow other people and what they're doing. Create your own identity and your own sound. And as a DJ, as an artist, you know, be who you want to be. And you know, and that's what makes each one of us unique. You know.
Martino?
There's so many things, like you said, that now you download a song instead of an actual record that you could play back and forth and look through your crate. You know, that's the stuff that's missing now. I mean, now they're starting to print vinyl, but the DJs back then were vinylists, and now they're sync buttons now.
Yeah.
They don't even have to mix. They just press a button and it'll mix it itself. So all they gotta do is press.
I've seen it when I have to play sound engineer.
When
I
I'm
don't
over
do
here
sound, and I gotta play. I'm like,
on the
oh, okay.
1200s to keep the pitch, you know.
I see all that intimidating. And for you?
I actually think house music is really gentrified. It really has a huge impact. The movement is bigger than anyone could even imagine. If we can just embrace the young now, this will continue to grow. It's already growing in Japan, in UK. I mean, there's countless countries embracing the house music. And now with the new Afro house and the Latin contributing to the house music scene now, it really changes and evolved to a whole new platform. The platform is bigger. If you really look at the house music now, I think that it could actually become something that'll hit the top charts in the United States. It hasn't, but it will. Because now you got actually instruments for producers that are producing now, they're actually incorporating instruments, vocalists. There's no more just sampling and looping. So if you really talk about house music now and the way it's gentrifying, I think I love it, including everything that comes underneath the sun with technology. Not only that, we don't have to carry 2,000 crates, okay? Everybody carry crates here and thousands of songs. I'd rather carry a flash and carry as much and still do my damage.
As a dancer and helping my husband when he was spinning at an after hour, and I carried a bag too. So I got the light bag, but I still carried a bag, leaving an Aberdeen party. And I can tell you the difference from the dancer's point of view.
Yeah.
My husband and I used to go, well, the boyfriend back then. We used to be at Gramophone every Saturday. And I would dance in there. I met all the DJs that way. You know, I didn't want to be known as his girlfriend, so I'd be like, hi, I'm Kat. but I would dance in that little space in front of the the back room. So, you know, the 2 records are there. I met Derek Carter because I would say, oh, you got to buy that record. It's the general public likes it. You know, that would be the general public. But the difference is, and you said breaking down the, you know, all the subgenres, but under underground house, it was just one. So there was, I remember all these DJs playing Afro, Motown, or everything on a beat. I mean, that it was never considered not neo soul, but you know, R&B, hip house, or whatever. And all that was just clashed together under the underground. We loved it. I think that's what made Red Dog, Mad Bar, Shelter great places to go, because people were playing underground music. It was not every single genre of what it is now, like soul house, Afro house. It was, I was hearing Fela back in '92 over, let's say, a 9-inch nail. I don't know, but you know, it was like that back in the day, and like the people that experienced it, you can't, like, going forward, because everybody put it in these different genres, the DJs aren't, not all DJs, let's just say certain DJs, they're separating it. They're not putting it all together like it used to be. So you're playing all soul. It gets boring after a while. You're playing all, you know, Afro house. You get bored after it. Yeah. But back in the day, in like the 90s, that stuff was all together. And man, those parties, I used to come out of there and be like, phew, we'll go to gramophone later. You know, but you know, that's what we did back in the 90s. But now that it's, everybody wants to play this, that, this, it becomes a boring party. So that's why you're not seeing as many people go out anymore. And you know, like, you know, I got into a Facebook debate with one of the top chosen few guys, and I was like, this is what it is. He was like, did you hear my exclusive? Yeah, I heard it, but that was new, but you separated. They didn't understand that you're not supposed to separate it. You're supposed to put all of it together. Like, it was meant to be. But that's why a lot of these people, DJs, are losing their crowds, because it gets boring. And I'm speaking as a dancer and somebody who brings energy to your parties. You know, you get tired hearing the same thing. So I represent the north side of that one.
All right.
All right, sorry. I want to dance.
Well, I also think we're in a different generation where we are a little bit, you know, we like to sleep a little more and our bodies recoup. So how do we?
We do go out. We wanna get our jack back.
Down. Yes.
I want to take those 2 days. You know, I felt like I sweat. You know, now I'm older. Back in my 20s, I could get up the next day and go dancing. Now I need like a few more. I need a week now.
I know that certain DJs do have their specific styles.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you play Afro or soul or, you know, hip hop. I mean, if you really look at a DJ, depending on what he does, either you're playing everything underneath the sun, from Spanish music to English, when you're talking weddings or anything like that. But when you talk about club DJs, it depends on what style you play. So, like for me, you know, I'm versatile. So I'll play anywhere from deep disco all the way to tech house. It just depends how I feel, because I really embrace all styles of music, that I'll just go ahead and play what I feel. I don't sit in set programs. I'm just like, oh, let me feel out the crowd, and I'll try this or I'll try that. And I try to keep up with the new as well as the old. If sometimes you have to throw a little old classic just to get the crowd going, play a commercial track that's remixed, that has a flavor to it, just to get the crowd going that doesn't really know house music. So once you get that, then you could throw everything else underneath the sun that you have in your archive, me as a DJ.
Do you so I mean, I know you're versatile in the way you play your music. Do you guys feel like you have to be more versatile in playing your music to engage more people now? You know, I from me experiencing all the different sides of the city, and you know, I grew up in Humboldt Park and, you know, listened to the style of music that was that was coming up here on the north side. And I found myself in my young, like 20, 19 or whatever, and meeting people that were older than me that were from the south side. So they were taking me to other clubs, you know, I would go to Warehouse and I'm hearing different type of music, you know, and I was like, oh, I gravitated to that, you know, more. But do you feel like now you have to incorporate, and do you feel like you have to be more versatile in your style of playing music? Because there is a big boom right now in soulful house music, right. And I do enjoy now that sometimes they'll take the more commercial tracks and make them house, you know.
You sometimes have
fun.
to do that, because I just recently played at the Taste. So in the Taste of Chicago, of course, you got everyone from all over the country. So you obviously have to play something that's on the top of the charts, whether it's something from even a remix of, it's hard to even, I wouldn't even say it's hard to explain. So I would say more commercialized if you're talking about the masses, something that they hear on the radio, that they hear on the top, you know, 40 charts.
This is a miracle.
So you're gonna play.
This is a miracle.
Well, I'll play a remix of Sade, or you know, you want to play a remix of. I can't even remember. I'm like dumbfounded. All this music is like, yeah, anything with Cardi B or a remix of that. As soon as you get that crowd to listen, then you could actually branch out and then, you know, kind of experiment with the house that we play. You know, with the more deep and the soulful. You can't play something real deep, but you have a very versatile crowd because they're not familiar with that. So of course, when I played the old school house from the 90s and I play Follow Me, you know, and stuff like that, as soon as they heard that, boom, the room lights up.
So when you're not playing at a festival, because you have more room to play with at a festival because there's so many different people there. Mm-hmm. I mean, last night, Dwayne he didn't end the night, but he played Percolator, which was way like, everybody was like, okay, but you have a whole different group of people dancing now, you know, that are lighting up the floor the way they do it.
And even to this day, they know what Percolator is.
So for Lugo or Martino, how do you find it more?
Me, I say I'm stuck in the 80s. I'm sorry. I play all original stuff, all original vinyl. I don't play no edits.
Okay.
I mean, that's just me. But, you know, when I make my house music, that's something else.
Well, you know, everything always comes back. Yeah. So you're not stuck, okay?
In a circle, yeah.
And you know, and going back to what I just said, we all have our unique style.
Yeah.
And that's his unique style that
Yeah.
you know,
And
everyone
also,
knows.
like he
knows
was
him by
saying,
that.
he doesn't mind carrying a crate. I got a crate in my you know, trunk. I'm gonna make a set after this. I'm fine. I don't mind carrying crates.
And for you, Lugo? Because I know, you know, you've been now becoming more present again in the scene. So how do you find it? Like, do you find it challenging, or do you feel like you have to become more versatile in the style of music that you like playing?
more in the game. You have to be in the game. You have to be more in the production end of it now.
Yes.
Everyone's a DJ. You have a laptop, you know, and
Yep.
you know, you got the younger generation that are coming up, and let's face it, you got more competition. It wasn't like back then.
Yeah.
And you know, it's time for us to like start making some music, making some noise here in Chicago, start creating tracks based here, you know. And there's a lot of talented producers, DJs, and singers, and we just need to make it happen and do what we did back then in the 80s to 2020. So
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think
And,
we
you
have
know,
the most talent here.
yeah,
In
we
Chicago,
do have the
the
most talent.
Yeah.
So much talent here in Chicago.
DJs and producers overall, I think we have the most talent.
And house music was made in Chicago, not New York.
Yeah.
That's what
I think we've been really, we've been promoting that for a long time. Like, this is
Yeah.
ours. Look at this is ours. I find it as being somebody who promotes events, I'll get somebody that's like, oh, they're playing, when are they gonna play more disco, or when are they gonna play more or soul, or when are they gonna play, this, or, and I give everybody a chance. So I'll have a day where it's gonna be a crew of more, I'm gonna say more Latin, because most of the DJs are Latin, and the house music they're playing is gonna be a little more techno-y, or more Latin, or more heart, like heartthrob, or, all that. But I always tell people, I'm like, hey, this is music, stick around.
Yeah.
There'll be somebody else coming up and play something different,
And we take no requests. No requests.
No. But I do also see that I was talking to a DJ who's a producer and has won awards and all that. Like, you're award-winning DJ, huh? What kind of award did you win?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was in several battles. Back in the days, we'd be in battles of the DJs, and it was like an opportunity to be showcased, and so I was in several of them. Great battle of the DJs. We got a big poster right there.
We got a big poster right there.
So that was
George got all the good stuff, you see?
that was a promoter. His name was Lorenzo Santos. And
we
like I
call
said,
him- we call him Pinky, remember?
Pinky, yeah. Pinky was like, he was like one of the biggest promoters. And his partner, when I first started off, was Julio and Pinky, and they used to do the parties at Northwest Hall.
Yeah,
That's Gringo, yeah.
Pan American Fest.
Pan American Fest.
And they
remember.
he eventually started, we got together with our partner. His name is Henry Cardenas, who is like the biggest Hispanic promoter. He handles Mark Anthony, and so anyway, they got together and they started doing these parties at the Aragon, and they were like the great battle of the DJs, and they would fill it up with 5,000. They had Frankie Knuckles, and it was amazing. And
We haven't had
that
any
was,
of those
you know,
in a while.
and back
Battles.
then it was an
Man,
all ages.
battles.
It was all ages party. So that was like the pre Lollapalooza. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like the Lollapalooza back then. So it was a great time.
So I got off the original thing.
But at that time, I was one of the I used to carry the equipment. I didn't get, so I was just trying to get in at that time.
That was your foot in the door.
And my foot in the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's, we're almost done here, but so how important it is to each of you that the Latinx house communities, the archiving of the Latinx house community, how important is it, in your opinion, our contribution to the
I think it's
music?
very important because, we have to archive our history. If it's not archived, it's lost. It has to be documented, it has to be told. Each one of us has our own story. We all have great, amazing stories to be told. And if it's not told, it's lost. Or if it's not lost, somebody creates a different story, which is not right. So we want to get the true story to be told from the true source.
And Kat, from the dancer's point of view?
From the dancer's point of view, a lot of the dancers are never really invited to a panel, and I think it's really unfair because we make you guys look good.
No, absolutely. I have to agree with her. If it's not for the dancers, there's no us.
And my husband is David Britton. When I met him, he took me to these after hours party. The one party I do remember was on Milwaukee. It used to be the old banquet hall. I heard him before, but this night he was throwing down. I was dancing on chairs. I had freak dancing. David threw down, and I'm not saying that because he's my husband now, but back then it was just those parties. But those DJs, we were there. We were like, we support you, especially if we believe in what you play. We're gonna be there. So, I thank Honey Pot for inviting a dancer onto their panel. And if you guys keep bringing, you know, your energy. We're gonna express it for you on the dance floor.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm glad I was invited, and yeah, that's all I got.
And Martino?
Me, I would like to put like you know, the Chosen Few has a real big picnic. I would like to put a group of Latin DJs to do the Chosen Latin, but I don't want to use the
Yeah.
word chosen. But I want to create for the Latinos and for everybody, for house music, to start a Chosen Few Latino DJ team, just like the Chosen Few, but you know, for Humboldt Park.
It has to
Something
be
like
in Humboldt Park.
Well, yeah, with the alligator.
That is so funny.
Humboldt Park is so diverse now, so
I think it's
it would-
been diverse a long time.
yeah, it's been,
It's been like that in the Northwest side is what we call it. It's always been diverse. I mean, you include the West Side and the North Side and the Northwest side all into one because they always talk about the South Side. So I would say the North Side, the Northwest Side, and the West Side. Everything west of Western, y'all, not East, West.
and for you, how important is it for you to have the Latinx community?
The experience for the Latin, it's a wonderful thing because there's so many Latinos here, even the ones that are not physically playing at the clubs that are still doing music, still doing their things at home, teaching their children and stuff like that. Just to be able to express ourselves as Latin people, you know, in our community, and still have a Latin flavor when you do play other artists' music. Because at the end of the day, if you're not producing, we're influenced by other artists. That's what, when I play something, I play it because that artist, that producer influenced something in that song, including the vocalists, because I do play a lot of vocals. If anyone ever heard me play, that's my main thing, is playing vocals. Making sure you move women, because if you don't move the women, there's no party. The dancers and women, because guys don't dance, they hold up walls. I remember back in the high school days, there'll be a group of guys just holding up the walls, and all the women and the dancers are on the middle of the dance floor for all the old DJs. That was the most funniest thing. But when you hit the club scene, it was just so much different, you know? And to be able to move people, even if you're not Latin, is just a wonderful thing. And I embrace everything that's going on and love where we're going with house music. Even though we created house music here, house music now is worldwide, it's global. It's not just about Chicago.
There's a house music festival all over the
It's
world.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Especially in the
There's parties
summer.
I want to go to.
Yeah. So, well, I thank all of you for being here. I thank Honeypot for having us. I feel honored to sit here with all of you. And even though, like, I just met you, but I remember hearing your name, you know, and I just think it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, so thank all of you
Thank
for
you.
being here and
Thank you
everybody
for
who
having us.
showed up. Thanks. And let's not forget DJ Joe the Dresser over here,
Got more.
you know.